Hello everybody, my name is Angewomon, and today we're going to be checking out a figure gem series, something that's quite coveted and had been desired by so many for so long. Made by Megahouse, this is Digimon's Angewomon with Hikari. She's a 1/8 figure. Yeah, I don't know about that, Megahouse. You think 8 of these stacked up on top of each other will make the height of the actual Hikari character, like, I'll get into that during my final thoughts at the end of the video. I am a massive Digimon fan. I have watched most of the series. I played many of the games, and I have a whole bunch of the V-Pets, the Digimon X version 2 being my favorite. So many awesome monster girls on this thing. And when I had seen Megahouse's announcement about how they're going to re-release this figure, oh my gosh. I honestly, I pre-ordered her so fast, and I didn't even bother to look at her scaling. I didn't really look at any other people's reviews online, which I probably should have, but I don't know if that would have stopped me from pre-ordering her regardless. Before I get into this review, let's check out the unboxing. Take it away, past Eric. On the front of the box, we get a little bit of product information, along with a nice photograph of the figure. On the side of the box, we get a couple of circles that show some product details. I don't know why they're showing the back of the head here. Maybe they should have zoomed in on the shoe. That seems to have some actual detail to it. On the other side, we have a similar thing going on with Angewomon. She has so many details, yet we get just a couple of glimpses, and they're so small. These circles should have maybe been bigger. On the back, we have another photo along with some product warnings. Pretty much nothing underneath, and another photo on the top. This box was actually packaged in another harder little box, but that was then put in the Ami box it was shipped in. This one is weak. It almost feels just like a hard paper cardstock. This is gonna rip. This is going to get damaged and beat up. It's really not safe exterior packaging for the box, and it's also disappointing that we don't get any kind of cutout window, because if you're gonna cheap out on this, and you just know she's in a plastic in there, well, let's just move on and get her open. So flimsy. And she's really tiny. I actually didn't expect her to be that small. A lovely Digimon base along with Angewomon and Hikari Yagami. I like this color blue. This random Hikari just in there. See any instructions anywhere, so I guess they just kind of assume you know what's up. Oh, look at this giant chunk of plastic holding her wings. Thank you, plastic. You did your job. I don't know why I thought she was gonna be a 1/7. This is extremely tiny. Look how big this base plate is. I like all the little plastics and pieces that were protecting her. Plugging her in was simple enough. It's weird that there's a secondary metal peg here that was so small. I'm surprised that it was even there, but it's cool and it's in metal, so I'm not going to complain about that. She does take up a decent amount of space, so the sizing of this base plate, I still don't think it's warranted. I think this could have been like 30% smaller, maybe something a little heavier, so that way it wouldn't have fallen over. It's time to hand it back to you, future Eric, to do the review. And we're back. I'm sure you probably saw some of the surprise in my face when I popped her out, seeing how incredibly tiny she is. Really small. Much too small. Save it for the end of the video, Eric. Her base is massive. This is such a big base. Why is it so huge when it's such a tiny figure? I think that this should have been maybe like an oval or something. It's too big, but I do like the choice of clear blue that they used here. It's fun that we have these little carved out motifs of feathers and fun little digital pixels everywhere. We have the title of the figure on the front top, and also all the product information. The bubbled chunks of plastic that these characters plug into are plugged in using plastics, as you can see underneath. No metal here. However, they do use some metal, pegging through the actual foot into the secondary piece of plastic. Not amazing, but not terrible, and the plastic feels pretty rigid enough that I'm not too worried that she's going to lean over time. Although she's been out long enough that one could debate that we would know if she does or not, this is a second release, and second releases aren't always made the same way the first ones are. Angewomon's shoes are freaking awesome. They look beautiful. I love all the little spikes, the designs, different finishes from pearlizations, metallics, and mattes to really section off different types of materials in her design. I love how on the bottom of the shoe they have the entire belt piece that goes all the way through as we go up and into her legs, and these are extremely beautiful, very elegant, dainty looking. The super thick bracelet that Gatomon usually has on her tail, now on Angewomon's leg. It looks awesome, and the motifs are very well carved in. We get that cool belt design going across her thigh, and the shading here is all done with a colder hue, and it looks really good. The sculpt work here is okay, a little bit choppy, but not so terrible that you're gonna notice it heavily while placed far from you on a shelf. While her right leg does seem a lot smoother, and the thigh belts are well sculpted and nicely painted with some shading on it. Her behind is extremely voluptuous and very well sculpted, incredibly well carved in all around, but I would say this is where some of the cracks start to form. Yeah, I said that. You can see that we have different plastics from the white going into the skin every single step of the way of her costume. When you look up close, you can see that these two different types of plastics aren't meeting each other perfectly everywhere. Kind of a little bit disappointing. And from a distance, it's not that noticeable, but when you look at it up close and depending on the light reflecting here or there, you're gonna see it. Despite this, we get some really lovely shading going up into her back. Her stomach is well sculpted and somewhat pushed out, but you could debate that that's because of the pose that she's taking. This figure definitely has a lot of movement within her body parts based off of how she's positioned and flying around. The belts we get going across her waist look lovely and are done in a similar fashion to the ones on her thighs. As we go up into her chest, which is swaying slightly to the right due to the motion in which she's taking within her flight, and I think that's really cool. It's something that I kind of wouldn't have expected from such a small figure and a lower end one at the time of her initial release. I definitely wouldn't consider the re-release being a lower end figure due to the price point that they put her at, but we'll get into that later. The cutoff from the white material into her skin is okay, but the gold chest pieces she's wearing are a beautiful warmer gold, done in the same fashion as the rest of the golds on her body. Sculpt work just looks really nice and cute. I love the design. This figure has her very well endowed, and that might be a major contributing fact to why so many people wanted her in the first place. She's very sexualized, and Angewomon always kind of has been a little bit. This one is pretty intense. And what I would personally love really intensely is if you would hit that like, that subscribe, and why not that notification bell. This way you'll be notified of my future videos. Her back is nicely sculpted. We get a bit of muscle tone and definition with the wings juting out of it, and these wings are absolutely beautiful. They look just like the illustrations. They don't have too much or too little detail. I'd say that they're really just right on the mark. Excellent shading over all the pearlescent paint. They just pop and look absolutely gorgeous. Her left arm, shoulder, and armpit look okay. I feel it looks like it should for a lower end figure that usually would have cost you 11,000 yen. The arm itself is nicely sculpted, and we have some beautiful shading. Fingers are alright, not perfect, but at this size, it's a pass. While I do find that her right arm is well sculpted, I think that the hand here just looks a little not the best. I'd say it's just when you look at things from the side that everything looks so chubby and little and not as delicate as I would have liked them to look. Wrapped around her arms and going behind her is this scarf winged purpley thing. I'd say that the sculpt work here is decent. The paint work is only so, borderline not so good. You can see that they just kind of airbrushed a darker hue over the middle wings, but you don't end up having a nice layering effect, which is too bad. Also, this ribbon thing usually has a bunch of writing going over it. Why don't we get that here? I understand on the original release it not having it because it's a lower end figure, but she's not a lower end figure anymore on her re-release. So I would have liked to have those extra details. And I get that the production photos, it doesn't show it. They're just re-releasing the figure. I'm just bringing up extra little things I would have liked to see, considering they really tacked on an extra 7,000 yen. Her neck collar has beautiful sculpt work to it. However, the way mine is plugged into the body, you can see the cracks more than everywhere else of these two plastics meeting. And this is really a disappointment. The sort of thing where I had half a mind to contact Ami, send her back, and get another one. I just don't think the one I would get would be that much better. I have this feeling that a lot of these reissues to her, and maybe even some of the older models, as I've looked at quite a few pictures of her on the My Figure Collection webpage. If ever you want to go and check them out, I'll be sure to have the link in the description down below. It's just some people have it a little more than others, and it's not worth sending her back and coming back, especially since from a distance, once more, it's not that noticeable. But up close, you do see it. The sculpt and line for her collar and neck are beautiful as things go up into her face, and what's interesting here is the whole neck piece goes into the face, all as one chunk, so you're not gonna have some weird intersection line around her underjaw, where the plastic for the face is then put over this, and I think they did a really good job of it here. Everything fits flush. She has a cute little smile, and it's nice that they put a stronger, more dominant red here for the mouth, just so that it stands out from a shelf. It's also got a pinch of gloss, which is really cute because it makes it seem like she has some lip gloss, and I like that. When you start to look up under her helmet, you can see that they did not paint eyes under there whatsoever. I always thought it was weird that Digimon would bring up consistently Gatomon's defiant, strong eyes, and then when she turns into Angewomon, she just hides them. Story-wise, not such a fan. Visually, I love it. I'm a huge fan of creatures that will block off the top part of the faces or not have them at all, and it does match up nicely with Angewomon. The helmet is cool, done in a dark bolter-gun metal with the beautiful Valkyrie-style wings coming out the side for the ears. Her hair is done using a transparent plastic, which usually I'm not much of a fan of, but they did such a good job painting it here that I'm going to give them props where props is due. The paint work on this figure is so nice. For the most part, I just think it's really well done, especially on such a small figure. I'm a big fan of the fact that they didn't make her a pale blonde, but they really went in with those yellows. As things slowly fade into the transparencies on the tips, the sculpt work here looks really good, and I personally would have liked a couple of highlights or maybe some darker shadows here or there, but I'm not gonna dunk on it too much. And her main hair is also done in one giant chunk, so don't get any kind of weird section off plastics or pieces glued in here or there. She comes with this accessory of Hikari. Accessory indeed, because I might end up removing mine from the base. I like Hikari, I don't mind her, but I bought this mostly for the Angewomon aesthetic, especially since she's quite spicy. She's a great monster girl, angel, and then to have a tiny little child on there, I'm like, yeah, not for me. But I do think that she's exceptionally well done. She looks amazing, just like in the show. The shoes are really well sculpted, going up into the nice socks, pants, her shirt. She's got her whistle, and the artistically designed Mega Man themed forearms and big hands look really great here, just like in the anime. As it goes up into her face, I think it's all right. The eyes look a little soulless. We get some three-dimensional depth for her mouth, which is decently done, and her hair, which has shading on it and no real highlights. What I'm not a fan of is this hair is just a bowl cut. They could have sculpted this in one piece and then just glued it on top of her, but they chose to go two pieces, sticking it together after the fact, as if you could remove the front of her hair to change her facial expression, which you can't. So I don't know why they would do this. It's really an eyesore seeing that line going across her head, and it's too bad that they didn't have the foresight to change even this within her remake for my extra 7,000 yen. Upon her release, she was going for 11,000 yen, which is actually a good price. However, that's not how much she was going for in today's market, and obviously Megahouse knew this. They thought, hey, we want some of that monies, and that makes sense. So rather than doing a cool Kotobukiya style thing where they'll re-release a figure and maybe tack on nothing, and sometimes they'll put a little extra premium, like maybe 2,000 yen, they straight up were like, nah, you're not getting 18,000 yen here. We all have figures that we really, really love or have always wanted, and they haven't done any kind of rerun for them. Who am I to decide if she's worth the 18,000 yen, but these two aren't, despite my having paid extra for them on the secondary market? I'd like to mention that this is a 1/8 figure. I understand that Digimon aren't exactly the same size as a regular human, but again, you stack 8 of these Hikaris on top of one another. She's small, but she's not that tiny. So not only does Megahouse get to charge extra because of the fact that they know everybody wants this figure in the secondary market, her value is insane, but she's also a scale figure. Doesn't really matter if they measured it properly or not. They wrote it down, they put a number there, and that means that they can charge you a little more for that too. I'm aware that this is a horrible matchup, but imagine walking into a store and seeing both of these figures and this one being double the price, and they're both new. Sirius over here was seriously kind of expensive for when she came out, especially at her 1/8 size, but look at all the detail she has on her rigging. And it's not to diminish the work that Megahouse put into this, but is what you see here truly worth the same as what you're going to be getting from this 1/7 Toki? Funnily enough, was also poorly measured as a 1/7, which she's not. She's 1/6 for sure. Any of the figures that I ever mention in any of my videos, and I have like a little picture that I always fly up around like here or there. I have the links for these down in my description below. At 11,000 yen, this figure is 100% worth it. I think she just looks awesome. If you're a fan of the franchise and the series, it's super cool. But at 18K, I don't think she is. I think that she's way too small, and I think that what you're getting here it's just, they're just taking advantage of you and what you really love. And I hate when companies do that. I like when companies give high fives to their fan base for supporting them for all these years and loving what they do. And so that, unfortunately, we didn't get that here. However, it's not like there's a trillion different Angewomon figures out there, and of course, you're extremely limited. They know this, but let's just put all of that aside. You love Angewomon. You want to get this figure because you like that it's a little bit spicier than the average one, and it looks really pretty. The paintwork on it is exceptionally well done, and it looks great on your shelf. It just takes up a ton of space for no... And at least as of now, her price point is going to be a little bit lower than it had been in the past due to this re-release, so you have a better potential of getting her at a more decent price. And that's pretty much it for my review today. Do you already have this figure? Maybe the original version? Maybe you're hunting this one down now? Hopefully my review today helped you decide which side of the fence you are on in getting her or not. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Despite a lot of my complaints about this figure mostly just being about how expensive she is, I still am pretty happy. I would have gotten her regardless because I love Angewomon so much. I'm such a gosh darn simp. And I'm patiently waiting for Megahouse to kind of announce that maybe they'll do a remake of this gem. And I'm not paying those secondary prices. She's so expensive. So maybe that's why Megahouse will decide to remake her and put a heavy premium on there. And we're probably gonna pay it because most of us out there are chump.